The world below the brine, the change thence to the sight here, and to the subtle air breathed by beings like us who walk this sphere, the change onward from ours to that of beings who walk other spheres. Walt Whitman. Good evening, everyone. This is the second time I had to do this because once again I forgot to turn on the recording, and that will probably make it to the blooper reel. Welcome to The Last of the Awful Sea. I have assembled a wonderful cast to do the second of these, which are based on my Kingsport series. But previously, we saw the adventures of the Bark Tethys, and for this, we're going to find out the adventures of the whaling ship Calypso. This cast is wonderful and charming, and I am looking forward to playing with them. But we'll start by introducing someone I played with many times over the years. Justin, please, let's introduce Eamon Whistler Barnes, our old sea dog.
Oh, hi, I am an old sea dog. Spend more time on the ocean than I have on land, I have. And thank you for having me, Kat. I look forward to this a lot.
We will find out what's in the heart of the American nightmare this time, possibly Las Vegas. Next, I'd like to move on to someone I am always very happy to have at my table. So let's please welcome Sarah J., who's playing Clement Thorn, our captain.
Hello. Yep, I'm Sarah J., she, her. I'm playing Captain Clement Thorn, he, him.
Who's not at all tortured or anything like that.
No, he just killed the last person he loved. It's fine.
That's fine. It's the 19th century. Next up, someone I had the good fortune to play with for the first time the other day, and I'm really looking forward to our next game, to doing some more. So please let's welcome Dorian, who's playing Angus Mellinson, our Strider.
Hi, yeah, I'm Dorian. Angus also has a tragic death in his past, but he maintains that it was an accident. Who knows? Who knows?
We'll play and find out. Tragic death in the 19th century. A true fact. Emily Dickinson, by the time she was 30, had buried every close female friend of hers except one. It was astonishing. And finally, someone else I had the good pleasure of playing with the other day, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more. So please let's welcome Marissa, who's playing Lilith Belvedere, a scholar who is on board a whaling ship, because, there's no such thing as a literary whaler in America.
Of course not. Wherever would you get that idea? Greetings and glad tidings, everyone. My name is Marissa, she, her pronouns, also known as Critical Kitten, with various punctuations here and there on different corners of the internet. And yes, I am playing Lilith Belvedere, who is a scholar at Miskatonic University, who, is also a novelist and decided she wants to learn more about the things she's studying and make her novels seem more realistic so that they will be palatable to the literary and scientific communities.
I'm sure this is going to work out extremely well for you. And yeah, so that's cool. I would tell people to put things like, where can we find you on Twitter, except nobody watches these, so there's no point. This is just my archive. I am joined as usual by Willow, who is off camera sitting on my lap, so she will undoubtedly photobomb at some point in all of this. We spent some time putting together this crew and their bonds and the stickiness they are about to get into. But the basic setup is it's the year 1851, and mystic, witchy, and fishy Kingsport has decided to shove their way into the whaling fishery of North America, which at the time was a huge industry because whale oil was the sweetest and lightest burning oil, and which made it perfect for lamps and industrial lubricants. And the Civil War and oil drilling in Pennsylvania are still a ways off. So, at this point, the industry was dominated mostly by the town of New Bedford and also Nantucket, both islands off the coast of Massachusetts. But Kingsport is willing to give this a go. After all, they have some people who are strangely exceptional fishermen. And speaking of that kind of exceptional group, one of them is Josias Pembleton of the illustrious Pembleton clan, a long-time resident of Kingsport. a family that goes back to its earliest days. Josias is an older man, too old to take a ship to sea, though he owns the ship in question, which is the ship Calypso, as opposed to the bark Tethys from the last time. So I was thinking that we might begin with Josias and Captain Thorn meeting down in the wharf district of Kingsport to discuss the voyage.
Yeah, I think we open like on probably this very long establishing shot of the city and then kind of zoom in as Clement is just stepping onto land and like kind of follow him through whatever streets to this building.
It's probably like an office. It's got a little fish-shaped sign hanging outside. It's like Pemberton and Sons Company.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're led to the back room, which isn't like an office. It's like an actual meeting room of some kind. I'm picturing dim light from lighted windows coming in, smoky. And one of those you can't see into the corners kind of rooms. Josias is there smoking his clay pipe. He's like, "Wilt thou take some tea with me, sir?"
If you insist.
I
Just
find
like take one of the chairs and pull it over.
help thyself to the cream or sugar or salt as is your pleasure.
Straight is fine.
And the Chinese fashion. It shows me that you are a man of some experience in this mercantile industry.
And just kind of look at him and say, just not much expression on his face. I've never been to China.
Well, perhaps you will be on this voyage, Mr. Thorn. Perhaps you will be. You are a whaling man, yes, sir?
Killed a lot of things.
And you have the experience to be master of my ship?
It would be my first time, but I've spent plenty of time on a ship. Third mate, second, first for a bit. And I'm interested.
Interested in what, Mr. Thorn?
What you're interested in.
Now, Mr. Thorn, you understand that the prime mission that you will be embarking upon in my bark is to plunder the seas for the oil within and bring back profit to make the town and my family rich.
It's kind of odd. And I cut his eyes away for a second and then look back. Yeah. Question. I have a move for meeting important people that I just looked at.
Yes.
Should I roll that? Okay.
I think you should, yes. You probably think Josias Pembleton is important, yes?
Yeah. That is a 10 on the dice. And this is plus balance of 12.
So they've heard of you. What have they heard? What have they heard? You get to tell me.
Would he be interested in the weirder parts of my story?
100%.
Okay, then he's heard of that. He's heard about how I got swallowed by a whale. Was what I called it because I didn't have a better word for what it was. And showed up back in London like 1,000 miles away.
There are things that you may be asked to do on this voyage, Mr. Thorn, that will come to you either from my written orders or from them that I tell you are my agents on board ship. Do not think me wrong. I know that you will be master on board this ship. but you will sail to the course that I ask. You are to head for the Japanese fishing grounds by rounding Cape Hope. That is acceptable to you, sir.
It is.
There may be some other cargoes, and I will have some say in your crew. Some say I'm forced upon me by my partners in this endeavor.
As long as I have some say too.
Of course. You will most likely have to take a mate from Innsmouth town.
It's fine.
I will put forth one of my mates as well. And in between, we mayhaps have to take a third mate, perhaps some good Quaker of Nantucket who knows the business and will brook no disagreement among the officers.
That all sounds fine.
There's one more thing. One of my partners in this endeavor is Obed Marsh of Innsmouth Town. A good enough sailor in his day. Now he refines gold. You may not have heard this being from foreign parts, but Innsmouth was most horribly laid up 5 years ago. 'Twas a plague that took near half the town. Obed has a son that he wastes not upon such improprieties as Yankee whaling, preferring to have him count his gold and sail his coster lugger hunting cod. But he has impressed upon us a daughter. Corydalus Marsh. Now, perhaps you are not familiar with this, Captain Thorn, but on a Pemberton ship, we accept any that can do a job, be they male or female. It is our way. It is the way of the Pembertons.
I don't have a problem with that.
Good. I do not know what job Corydalus Marsh will qualify herself for. That she is to be given a place on the crew, I have no say in, but the rest I leave to you.
I would like to read another's thoughts.
I invite you to do so. Do you need a?
Oh no,
roll?
I've got dice. If you don't mind me using physical dice.
I almost prefer it at this point.
All right,
But
so
for
that's
those who want one, I'll put one up.
So that's plus brain, which is 0 for me. That is 7 plus 0 is 7. So ask 1. What does this character wish I'd do, particularly in regards to this lady?
I think he's strongly implying that you should watch out for her. That perhaps she is clearly being planted on the ship and may not have interests that follow the Pemberton interests.
Is there anything else? There's a lot to get through.
No, and I expect you to start assembling your crew right away.
Do I have at this point, like, anybody?
I mean, it's up to you if you've got some people that you wanted to choose. They have.
I mean, he's very not particular.
We have posted and cried that there are still berths to be found in the Kingsport Whaling Consortium now that Tethys is finally broken out and sailed away. So there should still be some. I suggest that you go to the Cod down on Water Street.
All right, then. And just finish my tea and stand up, head off.
I kind of feel like we should maybe cut to the Cod and see who's there, and maybe you can come in after a minute or two.
Makes sense.
So who all is gathered at the Salty Cod on Water?
I've probably been there. I think it's not too long ago that Angus was basically attacked by the son of the man he killed, and it really drove home that he needs to get off this coast until perhaps people's memories of this incident have some time to cool. And he knows this is where the people setting up for your long transatlantic voyages are likely to be found. So
And you
he's there
probably know
keeping an
there's a
eye
ship
out.
leaving rather imminently.
That would be the ideal.
How about you, Eamon?
Feels like the kind of place where I'm probably renting a room at as well, like while I'm waiting for my next, prospect. Like, what ship am I going to be working on next? Just probably came in, spent a couple of weeks on dry land, and I've been talking to other, captains and whatnot, seeing what's available and where can I get a decent cut.
So the proprietor of the cot is a amiable gentle innkeeper named Ted Casket, who's probably serving you dinner, by which I mean lunch, because it's just like they say in Toronto.
Mm.
And perhaps Angus as well.
Sounds about right. I'm probably at a table weaving a tall tale with a couple of other, sailors and whatnot.
No, for sure, Eamon, that fish was not so long as that.
It was longer, I say. Strange things in them waters. You believe old Eamon when he says so.
Oh, you have tales of sea serpents, don't you?
Oh, we all have tales of sea serpents. Mine happen to be true, unlike yours, Mr. Baker.
There's a young Tom Hollandish-looking kid who's like, "But begging your pardon, Mr. Eamon, but have you ever heard of have you ever seen the sirens?"
Oh, of course I've seen the sirens. Every seaman seen a siren every now and then. Gets lonely on them boats. After a little while at sea, lad, just about anything starts to look appealing to a man.
Are they truly fish below and all pretty lady above?
I mean, they're not as pretty as some that I've seen, but yes, I would definitely say that yes, that is true. Now the strange bit is, for every two that are a lady on top and a fish on the bottom, there's one fish on top, and a lady on the bottom. And let me tell you, that'd be a strange thing to see bobbing up and down out of the waves. You can believe old Whistler on that one.
So Casket looked at you like, "Eamon, you haven't been drinking anything spirituous to come up with such a tale, have you?"
I'm only having my supper and talking to the lad. He needs to know these things. Listen,
Here,
as
the
I always,
sun's not even past the yard arm, and you're already in your cups.
yeah. Well, no one in here could play a decent hand of cards. What do you expect me to do? If I'm not playing my cards, then I'm gonna be talking. And I thought you liked when I told my stories. It brings people in, makes this place a little livelier. Be nice if maybe you had someone who could play some music now, wouldn't it?
You didn't like it when my daughter was singing last night.
I mean, no offense to the lass, but she's got a voice like wood breaking. I mean, it'd wake the dead.
You're deaf in one ear anyway.
Aye.
Casket leans over to you, Angus, like, "Please forgive me, sir. He's an old blowhard, though you do worse than to ship out with a sea dog like him."
No, he seems very well traveled, I suppose, or at least presents himself so.
Well, he's sure enough been keel hauled more times than I care to think about.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I raise my eyebrows a little bit at that, but I am like looking over there, and I have been sort of listening, trying to be relatively unobtrusive about displaying my interest in their conversation, but I think I also have. Again, I don't think like this was recent enough that I am suffering any harm in a material or mechanical sense, but I do think like one of my arms still fairly obviously like there's a bit of like bandaging on my arm. Like I've been in a fight. Is he going on a voyage again soon, do you know?
So Casket leans over conspiratorially in the manner of all good barkeeps. I've heard tell that the Kingsport Whaling Consortium is getting ready to outfit their second ship, the Calypso. And,
Whaling.
well, would I be incorrect to think of you as primarily a landsman?
Well, no, you wouldn't be incorrect. I've done my best to be flexible in what I can do, but more time on land than at sea. But it's time for a change.
Begging your pardon then, sir. Given that you have such little experience, you could do worse than to go a whaling for your first voyage. A whaler is an odd ship. It has no requirements to be a merchantman and rely on speed and the crackness of its crew. They'll take almost anyone on a whaler, and it's a good way to make yourself some money if you have a fortunate voyage.
I mean, I'm capable of speed. Even on a boat, I know my way about and how to make myself useful.
Oh, I have no doubt of it, sir. But as Eamon will tell you, when the North Atlantic swells are coming at you 20 or 40 feet high, and the wind is blowing hard enough to tear the hair off your own head, well, that's a matter of a different sort. And he smiles in the self-satisfied and smug way that old sea dogs have.
Yeah, I think Angus looks a little nettled. I think he's got some pride in his skills, and I don't think it's like totally unjustified, but he's like, well, I thank you for the advice. Do you know, is anyone affiliated with the whaling company here this evening?
I expect that their new master will be showing up anytime soon.
And I think I'll slip him a healthy tip for his help. I appreciate the wise words.
Do we want to see the captain, or should we find a way to drag Lilith into things?
Given our bonds, would it make sense for us to have met before this?
Quite possibly, I think. Particularly if my family was knew that you were going to be tapped to assemble a crew for this voyage. I imagine there were probably some wheeling and dealing behind the scenes.
Someone else who told me there would be a woman aboard.
Indeed.
Yeah. So up to you if you want to be here. I don't know if this is like the spot to be in town. If they've got great food or...
I mean, if you're trying to learn about whaling ships.
Oh, yes, very much so. I imagine that Lilith is kind of used to haunting this particular area. I think she likes to sort of skulk in corners and listen about and try very hard to be unobtrusive, but obviously she kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in this environment, given that she's a very well-to-do woman who is well-dressed and, clearly is hanging out with a book, like taking notes of what some of the saltier denizens of this town have to say.
Can I suggest that she is just coming in, because I do think I would react to her presence, as we do know each other.
Yes, sure.
And what do people look like? I'm curious.
So I think you see, trying to kind of sneak in, but failing to do so. A tall, willowy young woman with sharp, appraising eyes, the color of lightest gray. In certain lights, you could almost swear that it's the color of the sea where the shallow shoals drop off into deeper water. She looks very prim. She carries herself quite tall. But she has this, you would imagine a woman of her stature might have a kind of grace or a nobility about her. She seems kind of perpetually unstable, and I think this contributes to her obtrusiveness, where she is trying to be unobtrusive, where she kind of bumps into things that she doesn't mean to bump into. She's carrying a big book with her, and her hair is all pinned up and coiled, and she has a pen in her other hand.
Yeah, Angus like double takes, like what on earth is why is she here? And I think he'll lean over to the bartender, who's probably still relatively close, and he'll be like, "You keep an eye on her."
Oh, Miss Lilith, she's here all the time, sir.
Does she pay?
I am not in the habit of giving people charity with a sharp glance over at Eamon.
I told you I'd pay you Thursday, you
You
cheap.
owe me 4 shillings from the last time you were on land.
What, they haven't given me my pay yet. What do you want me to do? A man needs to eat.
He looks at you again.
Well, perhaps people do change. I'll just take a sip of his drink.
I think Lilith spots this group, immediately identifying the old sea dog and the general seaworthy looking nature of this group of people, and I think she approaches. Excuse me, are you talking about the whaling voyage, the one that's about to go soon?
We might be. Yeah, it's my next job. Do you have a message for me? Something like that?
Oh no, in fact, I would like to claim a passage on said whaling voyage, and I would like to know how to start the process. Is there paperwork that I need to fill out? Something of that nature?
I think hearing this conversation, Angus is going to roll his eyes and get up to start to move over towards you as well. But
no, you talk. Okay, you talk to the captain, and then the captain will say yes or no, and if you want passage, but this is a whaling boat. We're not. It's not really a passenger vessel.
Oh, I know, of course. I mean, I am a scientist, a scholar, as it were, and a novelist.
Miss Belvedere here has an abiding interest in whales.
You look very familiar. Why is that?
I know your family.
Oh, well, you're one of many. Most people know my family. But I seem to recall some sort of dense forest. There were guns. Your face is...
Yeah, I took them hunting. We had dinner afterward.
Right. That experience. Oh, I remember.
Yes, I remember it as well.
I didn't shoot anything, of course. Can't bear to harm animals. Although I write about whales being harmed, of course.
Yeah. Very, and he turns to Eamon. Very inventive descriptions, I believe she has.
When you're a novelist, you have to compete against the likes of Lavinia Hawbramble. The more expressive you can be, the better.
Yeah, I roll my eyes. I think the one time we did have that dinner, I think you spent quite a lot of time talking about Lavinia Hawbramble.
I'm sure I did.
I have heard the Lavinia conversation.
Grand detail.
Eamon just looks very confused about this entire conversation. Begging your pardon, but why do you... You don't hurt animals. You don't believe in shooting animals. Fine. fine. I understand. But then why do you want to be on a whaling boat? I
Well,
mean,
you see, I study the sea's darkest depths. At Miskatonic University, that is. I know it's rather strange for someone like me, but I must say I've become fascinated by the great creatures of the deep, what must lurk down there, the unfathomable depths. And I've received criticism as of late in the literary magazines that perhaps some of my depictions are not as based in scientific fact as they could be. So I intend to rectify this.
that's
Academics,
noble pursuit and all that, but are you planning to work while you're on the boat? I mean, we're not exactly going to haul the carcass up onto the deck so you can look at its, innards and bits.
Well, could I, though? If it just so happened that the carcass was being hauled onto the deck and innards and bits were coming out of the whale, could I have a look inside, as it were?
Miss, I'm going to give you your first scientific lesson. Whales are big and heavy.
I'd gathered that.
You don't bring them onto the boat.
That's true. It probably would. Size masts collapse the vessel, yes.
You would have to be in the rowboat with us.
I would go in a rowboat.
Do you row?
I can row. I have rowed a nice paddle boat around a lake before.
Oh, well, isn't that a nice Sunday afternoon?
It was. Thank you.
If there are space constraints, I think you might find me a more tenable hire. I do have hunting experience, and I do know how to use a gun.
Do either of you know how to tie a knot?
Yes.
I've tied shoelaces. Is it markedly the similar thing?
Not quite.
So, Mr. Angus, you seem like you would...
Mallinson.
Mallinson. Yeah, you seem like you would be of benefit on the boat. Miss... What was your last name again?
I haven't said my last name.
Oh, please.
Indeed. My name is Lavinia Belvedere, of the Belvedere family. You must have heard of them.
Yes, I've heard of them here and there on the streets. I haven't been to port for long. If you would want to come on this voyage with us, I would say offer the captain your weight in money. Don't feel like you would be of much help to us, and well, the Calypso is not a passenger vessel; it's a working vessel.
I know how to work. I can raise a mast or assist with that. I can clean the boards on the deck. I am very good at those sorts of things. Of course, while I am doing my research and study, which will be paramount for me, but I can assist in some spare time.
Have you ever been on a boat?
Yes, in fact, when we came to the New World, it was quite an adventure. Of course,
Have
that
you noticed
was a
that
passenger vessel.
the sailors tend to not have a lot of idle time?
I didn't pay much attention to the sailors.
Okay.
I must admit, the last time I was on a boat.
Fine. Well, we'll be seeing how your new hobby goes once you're on the boat. Let's just see. And then maybe we can get you in a rowboat after a while.
I would very much like to see a whale up close.
No problem. We could show you whales.
Do you know who will be captaining the ship?
I've heard rumors. I didn't think they were true. But I've heard that Clement Thorn has come to Kingsport, and that he is going to be the captain of the Calypso.
Just a total blank look from Angus. He has no idea who this person is.
So that seems like a good point for me to cut to outside the salty cod as Clement comes walking up. And There's a very plainly dressed woman. She's like wearing a brown like fustian dress. She has long hair, but it's tied up in a braid, and when you look, it's pinned very plainly, but it's with the pin that you use to hold a harpoon in the crotch to keep it from shaking out when you're in a whaleboat.
Oh, and
But
women used to use their normal hat pins as weapons.
when she sees you, she juts out a hand and goes, "Captain Thorn?"
Remind me of the name of the person that I'm supposed to watch out for. Out of game.
I'm Corydalus Marsh. You can call me Corey. Or I hope Mr. Marsh.
You're expected. Follow me in.
I shall, but have you
Or you can go
chosen
wait on the boat.
have you chosen your mates yet, sir?
Do we have names for people?
No. We can make up some.
I've got a few, not as many as I need. And just to be clear, this is Corydalus Marsh, the daughter of somebody.
Yeah,
Okay.
the daughter of Obed
Someone in
Marsh,
Ismith.
the one that you've been told to watch out for.
Cool.
Captain Thorn, let me press my case. I've been going to sea since I was a little girl. I've single-handed a catch from the coast of Maine up to the mouth of the St. Lawrence. I've taken whales with the natives of Quebec, and I've sailed from here to Charleston and back on a merchant ship. Begging your pardon, sir, I know that I'm being pressed upon you by my family, but I tell you, I can do the job of a mate. I can navigate, reef, steer.
Oh, you're done?
I am, sir.
Good. Follow me in.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, come into all of this.
This bizarre tableau.
Probably just as Eamon finishes his line. Yeah. Clement's average height. He's wearing a sweater of no particular color. Heavy coat, like shaved head. You can see he's got a couple, or just like you can see the tattoo on his neck, like coming around from either side, but not what it is at this angle. Probably look over and like do a double take at Eamon.
I think Eamon returns the double take. So he gets up and he starts walking over to you. He's a man at about mid-30s, but he looks older, very weathered, just sun-bleached hair, sun-bleached skin. His hair is just bristly, like he looks like the classic old sailor.
Let me
kind
ask
of
you a
look.
question. How have you changed since, however many years ago when I knew you?
I definitely look older, like progressively older and everything like that. And a bit more serious than I was. Like they're not as cocky, I'm not a young man anymore. I'm more of a sure of myself. There's a lot more confidence, but not cocky. I'm not rushing to do anything. I do it at the pace it needs to be done, even walking across the room.
Yeah, and I think Clement had hair the last time you saw him. Is also older, but is in general more focused, quiet, but not in a great way. But yeah, when he sees you, that kind of falls off a little bit, and he smiles a little and says, "Whistler."
Captain Thorn, is it true? Is it really you?
And then reach out and one-armed hug kind of deal.
Yeah. As I live and breathe. The devil's luck you have. You know that, right?
Not the devils, no.
Oh, something's luck. Strongest damned guardian angel I've ever heard of.
And like when you say that, like kind of settle back into the quieter mode that he'd come in. You're not looking for work by chance.
Oh, I'm looking for work, all right. It's getting a bit boring around these parts. Not enough to do.
I'm told I need a couple mates.
If you'd be needing a good man, you'd be having a good man with me. You know that.
What position did Ms. Marsh want?
She wants to be one of the 3 mates on the ship, which would leave her in command of a whaling boat and one of the officers on the ship.
Okay, let's say I've got 2 and I need a 3rd at this point, and I'm going to fill that slot with Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Captain.
So yeah, like not saying any of that, but just it's yours
Yeah.
then.
Can you navigate, Mr. Burns?
Oh, I know the stars around the world like the back of my own hand, I do.
All right. So Miss Marsh is disappointed.
Although she might not know how many personnel I've got, so
I'm imagining
Yeah.
that like in one of those video game RPGs where you choose something in a dialogue tree and you just get the little like disapproval bubble floating up from one of your party members.
Corey
Marsh will remember.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like take a step back and like look around at the rest of it, and then raise my voice. Is anyone else here looking for work?
Captain Thorn, I was hoping that there might be room on your vessel for me. I'm an experienced hunter and tracker.
Can you navigate?
Yes, on land, and I have the skills, the ability to pick up sea navigation quickly, I think.
We'll see. Miss Belvedere.
Yes, I'm writing a novel, and I'd love to join your voyage. I'm debating between calling it All the Boats You Never Sailed and One You Did, or Bones and Ambergris.
They didn't
If you'd
tell
like,
you
you can
that
weigh
was
in.
already arranged.
Perhaps, Captain, she would be fit for cook or cook's mate.
Oh, I've never cooked a thing in my life. Well, I've watched people cook. Perhaps that's enough.
It's not.
I changed my recommendation, Captain. Perhaps she can be your steward.
I have a fine position for her on the boat. It's a very important position. You're going to be right at the head. We're going to strap you to the front, and you're going to tell us what direction we're going.
I'm afraid I'm very poor with directions, but I can try my best. North, she points in a random direction.
Southeast.
Corey grabs your arm and just rotates you slowly.
Yeah.
She looks very pleased with herself when she is facing north, nonetheless.
Your passage has already been arranged.
Oh, has it? How lovely. Well, then I look forward to being aboard.
All right.
If you're taking her, please tell me that there is space aboard for me as well. I have skills.
Can you throw a
Excuse
I
me.
have
spear?
skills as well. I think she casts an eye roll at Angus.
Can you throw a spear, sir? Says Corey.
Yes.
Hmm.
It's not my preferred method of hunting, but I can use a spear. I can use a simple rifle. I can use a bow and arrow.
Captain, says Corey, if I may, I could perhaps organize those who wish to try and be boat steerer for you.
It's going to be a long voyage. I don't know if you've heard our destination. We're going around Cape Hope up to
Yes.
Japan.
Please believe me when I say the longer the better.
Why's that?
For personal reasons, and I think he sort of like uncomfortably sort of like scratches at his arm before forgetting himself. I would prefer to be away from the coast for a time.
I think you see Lilith make a note in her journal.
If anything's going to be following you, I should know that before we leave.
I can't imagine it would. Perhaps don't hire any Van Rhines.
Noted. That sounds like a good idea. To Corey Dalish.
Yes, sir. I hope you will not be prejudiced to not consider me for a position of boat steerer. If you do not trust me to be mate, then perhaps you'll at least trust me to make fast to a whale.
Maybe if you stop asking me.
Sir.
I'll be on the boat.
I shall bring the boat steerers, them that wish to try, to the dock, sir.
All right. Yeah, look at Eamon, I think. Like, kind of tilt my head in a gesture I've never really made to before, right? This isn't like a thing. But just like, follow me.
I slide away from our colorful group of characters and go off with the captain.
Yeah, and it's like, down the street a bit, not in any rush.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time.
Been a very long time.
How have you filled it?
Oh, I've been on a voyage or two since. It took me a little while before I got back on a boat, but land never suited me. Land work is not for me. Once I got on a fishing trawler, I knew I'd found home again. Haven't really left the sea since. What about you? Where did you end up? Where did they find you?
London. Well,
London?
in the area. Brighton. I spent some time there. A couple years.
Oh. And you've made your way up to captain in that time.
Seems so.
No. I mean, good for you. You were always a damned good mate. Feels like there's more to your story. Tell it in your own time.
I don't know if I've become a better one. No, that Leviathan.
Yeah.
I don't know, when that storm came up, it seemed inevitable that was how things would end.
I've seen storms, and I've seen bad storms. I mean, Captain, it's just you and I. We both know that storm hunted us, or at least the thing under the waters that brought the storm with it.
In the water, and I think maybe in the years you experienced this too, but it was cold and dark and bottomless, and in the wreckage I felt how meaningless it was to struggle in that. But at the end, I wasn't afraid. I felt acceptance. And then I saw it.
What's that?
The face of God.
Well, you had yourself an experience, now did you?
And the only thing I felt then was overcome. I felt that way for a long time. I don't know if I feel that way anymore. I wanted to. I don't know.
It's a fair bit of weight you're carrying in your heart there, Captain. I mean, what happened to you was no small thing. I know, I saw. I can't tell you what you saw out there.
I know what I
Like-
saw.
Oh, I know. And you know me. When it comes to strange tales, oftentimes they're more true than lies. And I don't ever thought of you as a liar. It sounds to me like you've got some things to think about on the voyage. Do so when you can, but, please remember, we're going to be following you. It's going to be your boat.
I know.
I'm a little worried. This crew, some of it's green. I've never quite trusted a crew that wasn't totally picked by the captain. Having passengers aboard, it's bad luck.
Can't be worse luck than what we had.
True. I mean, I doubt they can sink the damn thing.
And like coming to the sea again, right? The dock, and like I don't know how far out the boat would be anchored, but we can see it. And just kind of like take a breath of the salty air. We'll find out.
Aye. That we will, Captain. That we will.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's do that conversation with Lilith and Angus, and then
Yeah.
maybe,
Meanwhile,
yeah, then we'll introduce the ship, and maybe if we have time, have some of the competitors for boat steerer.
yeah, I think after they leave, there's a reasonably long pause, and then in the tones of someone who knows that he's probably about to start a fight and doesn't really want to, but at the same time can't help himself, Angus is just like, "Your passage was arranged?"
Oh, well, I didn't know that. I suppose Mama and Papa heard tales of my wishes, and, well, my new novel, I tell everyone what I'm intending. It hasn't gone over so well in certain circles, as you might imagine, but I imagine they thought it would be helpful. And, in fact, I thank them in this case. I thought I was going to have to argue my way aboard.
Right. They thought it would be helpful, so they just
Made it
things are very
happen.
easy for you, aren't they?
Easy is a difficult word,
I
which
think
is
it applies.
paradoxical. Some things are easy, the way they unfold, the way that they happen, yes. But my life has not been straightforwardly easy, even if certain paths were made smoother, shall we say.
Tell me what hardships you've faced that are so trying, then.
Well, have you not seen the papers? The lit reviews?
Right, the lit reviews, I can see how that...
Well, truly, it devastates my career to have such talk. And when one is competing against Lavinia, well...
Has Ms. Hawbramble ever given you any indication that she feels you are competing against her?
Well, no. We exchanged letters, of course, and I think she finds my work interesting. Certainly she wouldn't reply if she did not, but I think in some respects I am the more frequent correspondent.
I can't help but think you are conjuring difficulties for yourself in due to lacking any more serious ones, Ms. Belvedere.
Oh, and you would have more serious considerations? What might those be, Hunter?
Do you look at the papers or just the literary reviews?
Depends on which section of the paper you are featured in. Were you featured in a section of the paper recently?
I'm not sure if I was by name.
Anonymous. Interesting. In what
Look,
capacity? She opens her book.
All I am saying, all I am trying to make you realize is that some of us are dealing with issues that actually matter. That
Actually matter.
are life and death.
You don't think my research has to do with life and death? There you are wrong.
Is it about your personal life and death?
It could be about the life and death of the world, which I suppose would involve my personal life and death, yes.
I suppose it would.
You see, the Fathomless are very powerful creatures.
Right, you've mentioned them. If they live on land or sea, or in the air for that matter, there's a way to deal with them.
No, I'm afraid there you're wrong. Humankind cannot fathom the fathomless. That is why they are fathomless. To be able to deal with them, you would have to fathom them.
If there's a creature whose behavior you can't learn and can't overcome with skill, and yes, with a certain amount of danger involved, I've not heard of it yet.
Tell me, Angus, have you seen a whale? A real one?
Out past the harbor, not up close.
You've never looked it in the eye.
Have you?
That's why I'm going on this voyage. I need to look a whale in the eye to know if it is fathomless.
I would just caution you, Miss Belvedere, not to chase danger unless you have to.
How else will my books be accurate? I am the laughingstock of the scientific community, and to rectify it, I need to go to sea to be able to put detail in my work that does not currently exist.
Right. Well, I can see this is of great importance to you.
It is of great importance to us all.
And he'll just sort of, I believe he's reached the end of his patience for this particular conversation, and he's just going to be like, I suppose I'll see you on the ship.
I look forward to it, Angus. We shall have a great time on the open sea, I am sure.
Right. A great time is what we are all hoping to get out of this voyage. And then I think he'll just sort of pick up his satchel and just kind of proceed out the door.
So it sounds like it's time for us all to gather at the good ship Calypso. I think I'll put out that it is an older ship, but comfortable and has a good reputation. It has a decent reputation as a good sailor. But I would like each of you to give me a detail about about the good ship Calypso. Please choose from the following options: ominous, esoteric, or amusing. Please feel free to make up whatever you like.
I think the what's the word for the person or like animal that's at the front of the boat?
Figurehead.
I think the figurehead looks eerily similar to the one that was on the names. I'm terrible with names.
Solano?
The HMS Solano. Yes.
Hmm.
I'm gonna call that ominous.
Seems a little ominous.
Yeah.
I think the ship railings are painted in unusually bright colors and multiple different colors. It may be that there's some sort of like color coding for sections of the ship or some other thing that would be clear to the people who devised this system, but to the outside eye, it looks like kind of a random, just hodgepodge of bright colors on the railings. You know, for those of you who have theatrical experience, you know, when you're done like marking up a stage and you've just got all of these little like bits of tape in like every color of the rainbow just all over the stage, and you glance at it and it looks like complete chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That's the effect of seeing how these ship railings are painted when you first come upon this ship.
Mm.
Like there's probably a system, but it is not easy to discern at first glance.
I have one for esoteric, but not amusing.
Go ahead. I
was gonna
gonna
say-
call the railings the amusing one so far.
Okay. So plenty of sailors have served on the Calypso, and it has been repaired many, many times. Every hole in this thing has been patched multiple times. But for some reason, there's still this strange, very kind of like windy whispering sound below decks, even when the wind is calm, and no one can find where it's coming from.
I think on a similarly eerie note, there is a painting that's been hung below decks since the ship was first built. And you can tell it's been worn with age, but it depicts a kraken-esque sea monster. And at some point in the ship's life, someone has taken to marking the eyes of this sea monster out with X's.
Wow, that's fabulous. Those are all very good. Thank you. Very spooky. All right, so Corey is there, and as you guys watch, and I'm picturing the captain maybe standing up on the quarterdeck, which is the raised rear quarter, theoretically, of a ship. It is the Holy of Holies. Only the captain has the absolute right to be on the quarterdeck. Others are there either because they have the con or by invitation. So up comes this bearded, ruddy-looking guy with a sea bag slung over his back, over his shoulder, in a dungaree jacket with a blue striped shirt under it, horizontal stripes, real sailor nautical shirt. And he's singing as he comes walking up, "C'est l'aviron qui nous mène, c'est l'aviron qui nous mène en haut." Throws down his sack, says, "Messieurs, dames, Benoit Beaulieu. I am harpunier. I am here to try out, yes?"
You're the first one here.
Boom. So he sits down on a piling and starts whittling. Shortly thereafter, a very tall, ash blonde guy in a pea coat and a watch cap comes striding up, throws it down, salutes you on the quarterdeck. "I am Thor Adelson. harpooner from Norway.
Take a seat.
So he sits down on a piling, and finally, an African American man comes striding up in patched clothes. But he doesn't have a sea bag, but he does have a harpoon in his sheath over one shoulder. Begging pardon, Captain. I hear you're looking for them that can throw a harpoon.
Is Marsh about?
Oh yeah, she's
Okay.
gathering them up down. She's standing there waiting, and she's got a harpoon, but it's sheathed, and she's leaning on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I would have the. Usually, I'd have the actual mate, whatever number. What number do you want to be, Eamon?
Oh,
He's probably qualified to be first mate. If you ever been mate on a ship before?
I think I've probably been mate, but on like shorter voyages.
Right.
I'll be first mate.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have Marsh do this, I think, since she expressed interest. It's not her job, but I'll have her do it anyway. Yeah, just kind of nod at her like, all right, that's it.
So Benoit bows here. I've sailed many times out of Rochelle in France, and New Rochelle in New York. He laughs. Then he just grabs one of the harpoons that that Corey has laid out, flips it, and throws it without any effort into a barrel about 20 yards away. C'est bon, oui?
Look at the next one.
Tor comes striding up, grabs a harpoon. He doesn't have any of the same kind of happy motion that
Panache.
Yeah, that Benoit has. He just grabs it and throws it in this sharp, like almost javelin, not even a javelin, it's almost like a shot putter's motion. Sails through, smashes into the barrel right below Benoit's throw.
Nod like very slightly and then look at the next one.
Oscar takes out his harpoon, which is old and but the blade shines. It's been sharpened so often. And he flips it over the barrel and into a piling about 5 feet past it.
Look over at Marsh. What do you think?
I think we should see what Mr. Mallinson can do.
Yeah, let's find out what Mr. Mallinson can do.
She tosses you a harpoon.
Yeah, that feels like something I should probably be rolling about.
Probably, I would expect that this is acting under pressure.
It does seem like it might be that. I'm going to remember how to use this die roller, which I have used before, but well, that would be a 6, but thankfully I do have a +2 to balance, so I believe that is an 8.
On an 8, you falter, buckle, or break. So here's my pitch to you for the worst outcome. You get the cast off, but right before you can throw it the first time, you get tangled in the line, and you have to take a minute to straighten all that out. Then you throw it, and it lands in the barrel very solidly.
Sure, yeah, I'll succeed at the throw, but not terribly gracefully.
It's very clear that you're incredibly green with this weapon, that you've got the capability to do it, but right now you're a little green around the gills with it.
Yeah, and certainly compared to these other candidates.
Well, they've been doing this for a while. So Corey Marsh takes off the sheath on her harpoon, and it glitters almost with a bronze light in the fading sun. Picks it up, and with like a graceful, incredibly efficient motion that you're not really sure watching, Angus, how she got the strength to throw. She throws it into the piling and it buries itself half a foot deep into it.
Yeah, definitely raise an eyebrow at that.
Half a foot?
Yeah, 6 inches. I think Benoit drops his pipe. Sacre bleu.
Yeah, I think I sort of, whistle under my breath. We're not on the open ocean yet. It's fine.
Captain,
What do you think?
you asking my advice, Captain?
I'm asking your opinion.
Well, you know that I'll forward myself for a job. Do you intend, Captain, to put your own boat out when we lower for whale?
Of course.
Then I suggest you take 4 harpooners.
And just look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if this were a real boat. Can I take 5? Is that okay?
One would have
Or
to
do I
not
need
be
4?
well. One
only?
would not be a harpooner. You'd have to make them probably an able seaman, and they
Okay.
would consider that a demotion.
Well, we've got one person here who's never been either.
Yep. I'll just have to prove it's a long voyage.
You've got
prove
like
myself
a year
later
to
on.
learn.
Also, people die on long sea voyages.
That's true.
That's not a threat, to be clear. I just realized that with my character's history, it could be construed as one.
I mean, I'm sure people will die on this voyage. But yeah, count out 1, 2, 3, and then 4 for her. Just skipping over
Angus.
Mallinson.
Yeah, he
Benoit.
looks a little put out, but at the same time, he takes it with equanimity. It's obvious that he was, like the worst performer there, and he can, he's a relatively even-tempered person under most circumstances. So, like, he doesn't raise a scene or anything. He just sort of nods.
So Benoit slaps you on your back, says, "Don't worry, you'll learn. It's your first shipping, right?" Boom.
It is indeed.
And he screws up the gangplank. Tor just tosses you his harpoon and says, "Make sure that's stowed."
Yeah, he sort of sighs and hefts it onto his shoulder.
Oscar tips his cap to you as he goes up the gangplank, but Corey stops and says, "You have a good arm and a good eye."
Thank you. And I think when Oscar tips his cap, I do give him a sort of nod of recognition. I do think, like, as I mentioned, Angus is Indigenous. I think he, like Oscar, as 2 of the more visibly non-white people on the crew, there's a moment of, some solidarity there, perhaps.
Yeah. So Corey just says to you, "If you like, before we set sail, I'll work with you."
I would like that. I'm happy to teach you some skills I have in exchange.
What skills would those be, Mr. Mallinson? Not that I doubt that you have them. I'm curious as to the theater I will be educated in.
I have extensive experience with hunting on land.
My family have always looked to the sea, so there may be a profitable exchange.
Yeah, it's always worth expanding what you know. We'll talk.
This is cool.
I think Lilith comes very much as you would expect a passenger to appear on the ship. She has several trunks following her with carefully pressed clothing and books. And she's full, Victorian regalia. like not what you are expecting for a working vessel. And I think her nose, as she's walking onto the ship, her nose is buried in her writing book, where you can see the title page of her novel has been drafted: All the Boats You Never Sailed and One You Did, or Bones in Ambergris. And I think she still is like jockeying between the titles and has like suggest some annotated notes in the margins that you can see. And she's whispering to herself as she's like walking aboard. The acrid tang of salt on the sea air breaks across my face. No. The acrid tang of salt on the air is bitter and mournful. Yes, mournful. A harbinger, and she underlines the word harbinger twice, of thunderheads and sea swells in the days ahead. Yes. And I think she notices someone passing by, who's going the other way off the ship, and she turns to them, suddenly snapped out of her reverie. Oh, excuse me. Could you courier this letter to Lavinia Hawbramble? I want her to know that I've gone to sea, and should she wish to write me, she need only address her missives to the Calypso, adrift in the sea, communing with the fathomless. Well, that last bit's a bit of an embellishment. Just tell her to give her replies to the next vessel to leave port. Would you be so kind?
Yes, ma'am. If you have a few pennies to slip me for the post.
Oh, of course, yes. And I think she rummages around and she realizes like it's not in the little, the side pocket that she thought it was, and so she has to kind of dig in one of her trunks, and it becomes this sort of big affair. And she's clogging at this point the gangplank of people who like need to come on the ship, as she's like rummaging for these coins. Finally extracts them and hands them to the courier. Yes, here, please take that for the postage and the extra bit for your trouble.
Thank you kindly, ma'am.
Yes. Where do I go now? Captain, where's the captain?
I think like when I saw you bringing your many things onto the ship, I'll come down from the quarterdeck. Like I'm waiting there when you come up.
Oh, yes. Hello, Captain.
You can take one of those.
One? But I must have all of them. This is actually the third time I've had to repack. This was the smallest amount of my things that I could take with me.
Look at
Surely
them.
we
You
have
can see me
extra
like
storage?
doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo in my head. And flag down some crew member and like look at you, Lilith. And then say to some of the crew, take this one off. Where do you want it?
Off? No, I simply must have all of my things. Surely there's room in some
It's
storage.
going to be filled with whale oil.
Well, I don't mind if some of my things smell a little of whale oil. That should be perfectly fine. There's a storage place, something down below deck. I don't need very much room, I promise.
I think you
Do
need
I have
to
to
roll manipulate
persuade?
another.
Yeah, I think I do. All right, I'm gonna do that. So I do not have a beauty, so it will be a straight roll. That is 3.
Oh no.
She does not manipulate you at all.
Yeah, unless Kat has something waiting in the wings, I'll just have the crew member bring whatever is the more precious of your boxes down off the ship.
I think as my job is to make things worse, several of the crew are amusing themselves extremely loudly over the bags, and as they toss them back down onto the wharf, and some of them open up for a minute, they're amusing themselves at all the things inside. I don't know what those would be. That would be embarrassing. Trust me, these are sailors. They can laugh at anything, but I don't know if it's because there's books and papers or because there's nice clothes or whatever it is.
It's probably a mix of things. I imagine it's kind of random which of her trunks actually made it on. But then again, so I think like she has no idea what's been left ashore. But I think as she's like gone red in the face seeing this happen, she's shouting at the sailors on deck, well, if we can't take it with us, at least make sure it gets back to my family. That's my property, you know.
And kind of like not put a hand on your shoulder or anything, but just it's good to be able to give things up because you'll have to.
Yes, I suppose now begins my life as a traveling scholar. We all must make sacrifices.
You make it sound so romantic.
Well, my silks. Oh, I shall miss them. My parents will collect them, I hope, if the sailors haven't distributed them to the rabble.
Let's see. You do have like any of your books or writings that have perhaps been misplaced with all of this?
Yes.
Maybe I'll like pick up, like some stray paper from the deck.
Yeah, go for it. I feel like as some of the things were pulled out of the trunk, or the one that didn't make it on the boat, like some papers have kind of gotten blown in the wind or like stuck to the gangplank. And she's like, trying to pick up as many as she can, but like she doesn't have very much space in her arms.
Yeah, and like I'll stop and read it, like actually read it. Huh. And then fold it up and like hand it back to you.
I feel like this goes completely over Lilith's head, and she just, thank you. I don't know what's in the one that is on here, but I shall make do, I suppose. I think I packed a bit of books and a bit of clothes in each trunk, so I should at least have some resources to consult while I'm on board.
And where would we put Ms. Belvedere?
I was going to ask that. That may be something we'll think about for next time. She would almost certainly have, unless you really want to trust her to like know which end of a rope to grab and put her through that. She almost certainly would be better as one of the idlers. If I had to choose a position, it might be steward.
And I'm thinking too, like physically on the ship, like where would she put the trunk that she does have?
Well,
like
that's going to depend.
We've got a couple.
That again will depend upon what job she gets. So we can talk about that next time.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be something. We'll also figure out what everybody's getting paid, find the mates and the other two mates, and figure out which harpooner is which. I put them all on the crew list, but we'll figure that all out.
I would love to pitch myself as an ordinary rather than green because I do have general survival and tracking skills, but I understand if they do not transfer to the ocean at all well. So. That may be an excellent scene between you and Eamon as they try and assess whether or not you know enough to be ordinary. I will look up the requirements because I forget what they were, but they were essentially that you had to know how to splice and reef a sail, and I don't think you had to know how to helm at that point, but you might have. So we'll figure that all out. Because we're right up against it. This was lovely, you guys. This is fun. Jeez, wow. There's a lot going on here. We haven't even gotten off the dock yet. So there's a lot of fun. No, I'm excited.
Thank you all so very, very much. We'll do this again in a week, and hopefully by the end of that session, we'll probably be shoving off from foggy, fishy Kingsport. So until then, everyone, please be careful, be safe, and be well. So I say it's a ship. That means it carries square rig sails on all 3 masts, and it has 3 masts. It must have at least 3 masts to be a ship. A true ship rig is 3 masts, all square rigged. Yes, I learned these things, so you don't have to. For reference, the good ship Pequod in Moby Dick was literally festooned with scrimshaw and whale teeth. So,
Which of those categories was that considered?
I'm not sure. I think ominous. Ominous and esoteric, probably.
Not
But
I mean, it could
Amusing?
be amusing depending on how fun the scrimshaw was.
yeah, that's a good point. So,
Oh, I feel like we need to have Lilith come on the boat.
oh god, yes.
Yes.
Don't forget me.
I
Set sail, quick!
Before she can get here,